The morning sun beat down hard on Fort Bragg, North Carolina, the kind of heat that made the asphalt shimmer and turned every breath into work. 32 soldiers stood in formation on the training grounds, backs straight, eyes forward. Among them stood Private First Class Maya Torres. She was smaller than most. 5'4", 120 pounds soaking wet. Her dark hair was pulled back tight in a regulation bun. Her uniform was crisp. Her boots were polished to a mirror shine. But none of that mattered to Staff Sergeant Derek Holland. He walked the line slowly. His boots crunched on gravel. His eyes scanned each soldier like he was looking for weakness, and when he reached Maya, he stopped. "Well, well," he said loud enough for everyone to hear. "Look what we got here." Maya kept her eyes forward. Didn't move. Didn't flinch. "You lost, sweetheart?" Holland said. His voice dripped with mockery. "The administrative building is 2 blocks east. This here's a combat unit," a few soldiers snickered. Maya's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Holland stepped closer. So close she could smell the coffee on his breath. "I asked you a question, Private." "No, Sergeant," Maya said. Her voice was steady, calm. "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Holland smiled. Not a kind smile. The kind of smile a wolf gives before it bites, is that right? He circled her slowly. "See, I got your file here. Says you just transferred in from a support unit. Says you requested combat training." He paused. "Says absolutely nothing about whether you can actually handle it." Maya didn't respond. That seemed to annoy him more. "You think you're tough?" Holland said. "You think because you wear the uniform that makes you a soldier." "I am a soldier, Sergeant." "You're soft," he said. The word came out like a curse. "I can see it in your eyes. You got that look. That scared look. Like you don't belong here." He leaned in. "And you know what? You don't." The other soldiers watched in silence. Some looked uncomfortable. Others looked entertained. Maya stood perfectly still. Holland stepped back and addressed the whole formation. "Listen up. This is a combat engineering unit. We clear mines. We breach enemy fortifications. We go into the worst places on Earth and we make them safe for everyone else." He gestured at Maya. "This is not a job for someone soft. This is not a job for someone who's going to break the first time things get hard." He turned back to Maya. "You got any scars, Private Torres?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Maya's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind her eyes. "Just for a second. I asked you a question." "Yes, Sergeant," Maya said quietly. "What was that?" "Speak up." "Yes, Sergeant." "I have scars," Holland laughed. It was a harsh sound. "Let me guess. Scraped your knee as a kid? Cut your finger opening a can?" More laughter from some of the soldiers. "That ain't the kind of scars I'm talking about. I'm talking about real scars. Combat scars. The kind you earn." Maya said nothing. "That's what I thought," Holland said. He shook his head like he was disappointed but not surprised. "You want to be here? Fine, but don't expect me to go easy on you. Don't expect special treatment. And when you wash out, not if, when, don't come crying to me about how it wasn't fair." He moved on down the line. Maya released a breath she didn't know she was holding. The rest of the day was worse. Holland ran them through drills in the burning heat, obstacle courses, rope climbs, load-bearing marches with 60-pound packs. Every time Maya completed a task, Holland found something wrong with it. Too slow, not good enough, weak form. When she climbed the rope, he said she looked like a child on a playground. When she cleared the wall, he said my grandmother could do it faster. When she finished the 5-mile run in under 40 minutes, a good time by any standard, he said she was holding everyone back. The other soldiers started to notice. Some of them began to distance themselves from her. In the military, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and Holland was making it very clear that he thought Maya was that weak link. By the end of the day, Maya was exhausted, bruised, every muscle ached, but she didn't complain. Didn't make excuses. She just kept going. That evening in the barracks, she sat on her bunk and carefully removed her uniform top. Beneath it, she wore a standard brown t-shirt. Long sleeves despite the heat. She always wore long sleeves. Another soldier walked by. Corporal Jessica Raines. She'd been friendly enough during the day. Now she stopped. "Hey," Jessica said. "Don't take it personal. Holland's hard on everyone at first." Maya nodded but didn't look up. "He's especially hard on women," Jessica continued. "Thinks we don't belong in combat roles. Old school mentality, you know." "I know," Maya said. "Just keep your head down, work hard." He'll come around eventually. Jessica paused. Or he won't, but at least you'll know you tried. Jessica walked away. Maya sat alone on her bunk. She pulled a small photograph from her pocket. It showed two people. A younger Maya, maybe 19 or 20, and a man in uniform, same dark eyes, same serious expression. Her brother, Carlos. She stared at the photo for a long time, then she carefully put it away, lay back on her bunk, and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow would be harder. She knew that. Holland had made it clear he wanted her gone. He'd push her until she broke, until she quit, until she proved him right. But what Holland didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Maya, Torres had already been broken once and she'd survived. The scars beneath her sleeves were proof of that. She just hadn't decided yet whether anyone here deserved to see them. Outside, the sun set over Fort Bragg. The heat finally broke. A cool breeze drifted through the open windows of the barracks. Maya closed her eyes, and somewhere deep inside where the memories lived, she felt the old pain stir. Not yet, she told herself. Not yet, but soon they would all understand. Soon, Staff Sergeant Holland would see exactly who he was dealing with, and nothing would ever be the same. The next morning came too early. 4:30 a.m., still dark outside. Maya was already awake when the lights snapped on and someone shouted for everyone to get up. She'd barely slept. Old habits. In some ways, she hadn't slept well in 3 years. The soldiers stumbled out of their bunks, groggy and cursing. Maya was already dressed. Already ready. Sergeant Holland was waiting outside. "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen," he said, though his tone suggested the morning was anything but good. "Today we're doing something special. Today we're going to see who belongs here and who doesn't." Maya's stomach tightened. She knew that tone. It meant trouble. They marched to a part of the base most of them hadn't seen before. A specialized training area, concrete buildings designed to look like enemy compounds, narrow streets, fake market stalls. It was a mock-up of a Middle Eastern village. "Welcome to your worst nightmare," Holland said. "This is a breaching exercise. There are simulated IEDs planted throughout this course. Your job is to locate them, mark them, and clear a safe path for your team." He smiled that wolf smile again. Fail and people die. Simple as that. He split them into teams of 4. When he got to Maya, he didn't put her with the experienced soldiers. Instead, he grouped her with 3 other new transfers. All of them looked nervous. "Torres," Holland called out. "Your team leader." Maya blinked. "Sergeant? You got a problem with that, Private?" "No, Sergeant." "Good. Because I want to see what kind of leader you are when things go bad." He handed her a detection kit. "Standard equipment. Metal detector probe marking flags. You got 30 minutes. The other teams will be watching. Try not to embarrass yourself more than you already have." The other teams went first. Maya watched carefully. Studied their techniques. Watched where they checked, how they moved, what they looked for. She noticed things. Small things. The way the soil was disturbed in certain places. The pattern of debris. The way shadows fell across suspicious objects. Then it was her team's turn. "Clock's ticking, Torres," Holland said. "Let's see what you got." Maya took a breath. Then she led her team into the mock village. It was quiet except for their footsteps. The fake buildings loomed on both sides. Every doorway was a potential threat. Every pile of trash could hide an explosive. "Stay behind me," Maya said to her team. "Single file. Step exactly where I step." She moved slowly, methodically. Her eyes scanned the ground, not just looking, really seeing. Reading the terrain like a language. There, a wire, barely visible, stretched across the path at ankle height. "Stop," she said quietly. The team froze. Maya knelt down. Examined the wire without touching it. Traced it with her eyes to a pressure plate hidden under some cardboard. She marked it with a flag and carefully led her team around it. "How did you see that?" one of the soldiers whispered. Maya didn't answer. She was already focused on the next section. From the observation point, Holland watched with his arms crossed. A few other instructors stood with him. "She's good," one of them said. Holland frowned. "She got lucky." "That wasn't luck, Derek. Look at her movement." "She knows what she's doing." "We'll see," Holland muttered. Back in the village, Maya found 3 more devices. Each one was different. Different placement. Different trigger mechanism. She marked them all. Her team followed her lead, growing more confident with each find. Then they reached the final stretch. A narrow alley between two buildings. Maya stopped at the entrance. Something felt wrong. The other soldiers waited. "What is it?" one asked. Maya studied the alley. The ground looked clean. Too clean. The dirt was smooth, undisturbed. But that was exactly what bothered her. She'd seen this before, not in training, in real life. Suddenly she was back there, 3 years ago. Different country, different uniform, the smell of dust and diesel fuel, the weight of her rifle. Carlos walking ahead of her, confident, smiling over his shoulder. "Maya, you worry too much," he'd said. "The alley's clear. EOD already swept it." But she'd seen something off. The dirt too smooth. Just like now, she'd called out to him. "Started to run, then the world exploded, ma'am. You okay?" Maya snapped back to the present. One of her team members was looking at her with concern. Her hands were shaking. She clenched them into fists. "I'm fine," she said. Her voice was tight. "Don't enter the alley. It's a trap." "But there's nothing there," the soldier said. "Look, it's clean." "That's the point," Maya said. She knelt at the alley entrance and carefully brushed away the top layer of smooth dirt. Underneath was a pressure plate, large, professionally concealed. If they'd walked in, the whole team would have been caught in the blast. Even in a training scenario, it would have meant failure. Behind her, the soldiers went pale. Maya marked it with a flag. Then she found the safe path around it and led her team to the finish point. 23 minutes. 7 devices found. 0 mistakes. When they emerged, the other soldiers were staring. Holland walked up, his face unreadable. "You got lucky," he said. "Yes, Sergeant," Maya replied. What else could she say? "That last one, the alley, you hesitated. In real combat, hesitation gets people killed. In real combat, rushing in blind gets people killed faster, Sergeant." The words were out before she could stop them. Holland's eyes narrowed. "You got something you want to say to me, Private?" Maya met his gaze. For just a moment, something passed between them. Something hard and painful. "No, Sergeant," she said quietly. "Then get back in formation." That afternoon, during a break, Jessica Raines approached Maya again. This time, another soldier was with her. Specialist Marcus Chen. He was older than most of them, maybe 30, quiet, observant. "That was impressive this morning," Jessica said. Maya shrugged. "Just did the job." "No," Marcus said. His voice was soft but firm. "That last IED. The instructors told me it took them 2 hours to place it. It's designed to fool experienced techs. You found it in under a minute," he paused. "You've done this before." "For real?" Maya didn't respond. "You don't have to talk about it," Jessica said quickly. "But just so you know, some of us see you." "We know Holland's full of it. He's testing her," Marcus said. "Question is why. Most new transfers, he ignores them or trains them normal. He's singling out, making it personal." Maya had wondered the same thing. "Maybe he just doesn't like women in combat roles," Jessica offered. "Maybe," Marcus said, but he didn't sound convinced. That night, Maya sat on her bunk again. Her body ached from the day's training, but it was a good ache. The ache of work, of purpose. She rolled up her sleeve just a few inches, just enough to see the edge of the scarring. Burns. Old ones, healed but never really gone. They ran from her wrists up past her elbows. She knew because they didn't stop there. They covered her shoulders, parts of her back. Reminders of the day everything changed. The day Carlos died and she survived. The day she pulled 3 soldiers out of a burning vehicle while her own uniform melted into her skin. The day she earned every single scar someone walked past her bunk. Maya quickly pulled her sleeve down, but not before Jessica saw. Just a glimpse. Just enough. Jessica didn't say anything, but Maya saw the recognition in her eyes. The understanding. She'd seen scars like that before. Everyone in the military had. Later, after lights out, Maya lay in the darkness and listened to the sounds of soldiers sleeping, breathing, snoring, the occasional nightmare murmur. She thought about Holland. About his words. "You're soft." If only he knew, if only any of them knew. But the scars weren't something she advertised. They weren't a badge of honor to her. They were private, personal. They represented the worst day of her life. The day she lost her brother. The day she became someone different, someone harder, someone who would never be soft again, no matter what any sergeant said. Tomorrow, Holland would push harder. She knew that. He wanted her to break, to quit, to prove his prejudice right. But Maya Torres had already been through fire, literally, and she'd walked out the other side. Whatever Holland threw at her, she could handle it. She just hoped she could do it without him or anyone else, seeing what lay beneath her sleeves. Because once they saw, everything would change. Questions would be asked. Her past would be revealed. And the real reason she was here, the real reason she'd requested combat training, would come to light. She wasn't here to prove herself. She was here to finish what Carlos started, and nothing, not Holland, not the scars, not the pain, would stop her. The third week of training started with rain, not a gentle rain. A punishing downpour that turned the training grounds into mud and made every task twice as hard. Holland seemed to love it. He pushed them harder than ever. Longer runs, heavier loads, more drills, and he pushed Maya hardest of all. Torres, you're too slow. Torres, your form is sloppy. Torres, you're putting the whole unit at risk. It didn't matter that she kept up with everyone else. It didn't matter that her performance scores were solid. Holland always found something wrong. The other soldiers noticed. Some felt bad for her. Others started to believe Holland might be right. Maybe she didn't belong. Maybe she was a liability, but Marcus and Jessica stuck by her. He's trying to break you, Marcus said one evening. Don't let him. I won't, Maya promised. She didn't tell them how close she was to the edge, how every night she dreamed of fire and screaming, how every morning she woke up and had to convince herself to get out of bed and do it all over again. She was here for a reason. She had to remember that. Then came Thursday, the day everything changed. Holland announced they'd be doing live demolition training. Real explosives, small charges, but real, the kind used to breach doors and clear obstacles in combat. This is serious business, he told them. One mistake and someone gets hurt, maybe killed. So pay attention and follow procedures exactly. They trained in pairs. One person would set the charge. The other would observe and verify. Then they'd both take cover before detonation. When Holland paired Maya with a soldier named Thompson, a cocky 23-year-old, who'd made it clear he didn't think women belonged in combat, she knew it was intentional. Thompson barely looked at her during the safety briefing. Just stay out of my way, he muttered. I'll handle the real work. Maya bit back a response. Fine, they approached their target. A reinforced door and a concrete wall. Thompson carried the explosive charge. Maya carried the detonator and safety kit. Standard breach, Thompson said, not looking at her. I'll set it. You just stand there and look pretty or whatever. He started placing the charge, but Maya noticed immediately that something was wrong. The placement was off, too high. Too much explosive for the door type. Wait, she said. That's not right. I know what I'm doing, Thompson snapped. The charge is too strong for that position. I don't need a support unit transfer telling me how to do my job. He continued working. This is how we do it in real combat. But you wouldn't know about that, would you? Maya's jaw tightened. I'm telling you, the blast pattern will be wrong. I could what? Hurt your feelings? He laughed. Just back up and let me work. From the observation point, Holland watched through binoculars. Another instructor stood beside him. Thompson's placement is wrong, the instructor said. You going to correct him? Holland lowered the binoculars. Let's see if Torres catches it. She already did. I can see her trying to tell him. Then let's see if she stops him. The instructor looked at Holland. Derek, if that charge goes off with that placement, the backblast could teach them both a valuable lesson about following procedures, Holland said coldly. Besides, it's a small charge. They'll be fine if they take proper cover. But they both knew that wasn't guaranteed. Back at the target, Thompson finished placing the charge. Done, let's move back. No, Maya said firmly. Reset it. The placement is dangerous. Thompson's face reddened. Are you questioning me? I'm telling you it's wrong. Look at the door structure. Look at the concrete reinforcement. That charge in that position will create a lateral blast pattern. Anyone in the cover zone could still catch shrapnel. You don't know what you're talking about. Yes, I do. Maya's voice was hard now. Reset the charge or I'm calling it off. Thompson stepped close to her, intimidating. You don't have the authority to call anything off. You're nothing. You're just some soft little... He didn't get to finish. Maya's hand shot out and grabbed his wrist. Hard. Her fingers found the pressure point and squeezed. Thompson gasped in pain and surprise. "Listen to me very carefully," Maya said. Her voice was quiet, but there was steel in it. Steel and something else. Something that made Thompson's eyes widen. "That charge is placed wrong. I know it's wrong because I've set 100 just like it. In Kandahar, in Helmand Province, in places you've only read about in briefings." She released his wrist. "Now reset it. Or I walk over to that observation point and I tell Sergeant Holland that you ignored safety protocols and endangered both our lives." Thompson stared at her, really looked at her for the first time. "You were deployed," he said quietly. "Reset the charge." He did. This time Maya guided him. Correct placement. Correct amount. Proper safety protocols. When they were done, they moved to the cover position and Thompson triggered the detonator. The explosion was clean. Perfect. The door breached exactly as it should. Holland walked over as they emerged from cover. His face was unreadable. "Interesting," he said. "There was a problem?" "No, Sergeant," Thompson said quickly. "Just double-checking the placement." Holland looked at Maya. "That true, Torres?" "Yes, Sergeant." Holland stared at her for a long moment, like he was trying to solve a puzzle. Then he nodded and walked away. But that evening, everything fell apart. The unit had PT, physical training, an obstacle course in full gear. Maya was halfway through when her sleeve caught on barbed wire at the top of a wall. The fabric ripped, tore open from wrist to elbow, and everyone saw. The scars thick, mottled, the kind of scars that come from severe burns. They covered her entire forearm, angry red and white tissue that had healed but would never look normal again. Maya froze at the top of the wall. Below her, soldiers stared. Mouths open. Silent. Jessica's hand went to her mouth. Marcus's eyes went wide with understanding. And Holland. Holland stood there with an expression Maya couldn't read. She quickly pulled her sleeve down. But it was too late. Everyone had seen. She finished the course in silence. No one spoke to her. They just stared. When she climbed down from the final obstacle, Holland was waiting. "Torres, my office now." She followed him across the base to the administrative building. Her heart pounded. This was it. He'd seen the scars. He'd ask questions. Her past would come out. Everything she'd worked for would unravel. Holland's office was small, neat, photos on the wall, commendations, a flag in the corner. He closed the door. "Sit," he said. Maya sat. Holland moved behind his desk but didn't sit. He just stood there looking at her. "How long were you deployed?" he asked quietly. Maya's throat was tight. 15 months, Sergeant." "Where?" "Afghanistan. Helmand Province mostly." "What unit?" She hesitated. "Then combat engineers." "Route clearance. IED disposal." Holland was quiet for a long moment. "The scars on your arms. That's from an IED?" "Yes, Sergeant." "When?" 3 years ago." Holland finally sat down. He leaned back in his chair. When he spoke again, his voice was different, softer, almost human. "Tell me what happened." Maya took a breath. This was the story she'd never wanted to tell. The story she'd buried. The story that woke her up screaming in the middle of the night. But looking at Holland now, she realized something. He wasn't asking out of cruelty. He was asking because he needed to know. Because maybe, just maybe, he'd misjudged her. "My brother," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "Sergeant Carlos Torres. He was my team leader. We were clearing a route outside of Marja." She paused, swallowed hard. "I saw something. Told him to stop. But command had already cleared the route. He thought I was being paranoid. The memories flooded back, sharp, painful. He was 10 feet ahead of me when the IED went off, hidden under the road. A big one. The vehicle he was next to, it just exploded, flipped onto its side. Started burning. Her hands were shaking now. She pressed them against her knees. There were 3 soldiers trapped inside, screaming. The fire was spreading fast. Everyone else took cover, waiting for secondary explosions. But I could hear them screaming. Holland leaned forward, listening. I ran to the vehicle, started pulling them out. The metal was so hot it melted through my gloves, burned through my sleeves. My uniform started to catch fire, but I couldn't stop. I got 2 of them out, went back for the 3rd. Tears ran down her face now. She didn't wipe them away. That's when I found Carlos. He'd been thrown from the blast. Her voice broke. I pulled the third soldier out. Then I went back for my brother. But he was already gone. The office was silent except for her breathing. The burns were severe, she continued. 3rd degree on my arms and shoulders. They medically evacuated me. Spent 4 months in a burn unit. Another 6 months in physical therapy. She looked up at Holland. They told me I'd never serve again. That my injuries were too severe. They wanted to give me a medical discharge and a medal and send me home. But you didn't accept that, Holland said quietly. No, Sergeant. I fought to stay in. Fought through every surgery, every skin graft, every therapy session. When they finally cleared me for limited duty, they stuck me in a support role. Admin work, safe, away from combat. She met his eyes. I've spent 3 years behind a desk watching other soldiers deploy, knowing I could do more. Knowing I'm ready. Holland was quiet for a long time. That's why you're here, he finally said. That's why you requested combat training. Yes, Sergeant. You want back in the fight. I want to finish what my brother started. I want to be the soldier he trained me to be. Her voice was stronger now, clearer. I'm not soft, Sergeant. I'm scared every single day. Scared I'll fail. Scared I'll let someone down. Scared I'll see another soldier die because I wasn't good enough or fast enough. She stood up. But I show up anyway. Every single day. Because that's what soldiers do. Holland stood too. He walked around his desk and stood in front of her. For the first time since she'd arrived, he looked at her with something like respect. Private Torres, he said. I owe you an apology. Maya stared at Holland. Sergeant? He gestured for her to sit back down. She did. He returned to his chair and pulled open a desk drawer. From it, he took out a file folder. Worn. Old. He set it on the desk between them. 3 years ago, Holland began, I was stationed at Bagram Air Base. I was a senior instructor, training engineers before they deployed to active combat zones. He opened the folder. Inside were photos, reports. One of my best students was a sergeant, smart, dedicated, natural leader. I certified him as ready for deployment and sent him into Helmand. Province. Maya's blood went cold. Holland turned the folder around so she could see. The photo on top showed a soldier in full combat gear. Smiling, confident. It was Carlos, your brother, Holland said quietly. I trained your brother. Maya couldn't breathe. She stared at the photo, at Carlos's face. She hadn't seen this picture before. When the report came back about the IED attack, Holland continued, when I learned that Sergeant Torres had been killed, I read every detail. I read about the device, about the tactical decisions made that day, about the intelligence failures that led to the route being cleared when it shouldn't have been. He paused, took a breath, and I read about a soldier who ran into fire to save her brothers in arms, a soldier who suffered severe burns but pulled 3 men out of a burning vehicle, a soldier who tried to save her own brother even when it was too late. He looked at Maya. I read about you, Private Torres, and I put your name in a file. Told myself that if you ever came back to active duty, I wanted to know about it. Maya's hands were shaking. Why? Because I blame myself, Holland said simply. I trained Carlos. I told him he was ready. I sent him out there. And he died. His voice was rough with emotion. When I got the notification that you'd requested transfer to combat training, that you'd specifically requested Fort Bragg, I knew you'd end up in my unit eventually. And I didn't know what to do. So you tried to break me, Maya said. Yes. He didn't deny it. I told myself I was testing you, making sure you were really ready, making sure you wouldn't get yourself killed like... He trailed off. Like Carlos. Yes. Holland rubbed his face with both hands. But the truth is, I was scared. Scared that if I certified you, if I sent you back into combat, you'd die too. And I couldn't carry that weight again, so I pushed you, mocked you, called you soft, hoping you'd quit, hoping you'd walk away and choose a safer path. Maya felt tears on her cheeks, but she didn't care anymore. But you didn't quit, Holland said. You took everything I threw at you and you stood your ground. You showed skills that most soldiers with twice your experience don't have. You saved Thompson from making a mistake that could have hurt both of you. And today, when your scars were exposed, when everyone saw what you've been hiding, you finished the course anyway. He stood up and walked to the window, looked out at the base. Your brother talked about you, you know, during training. Said his little sister was the toughest person he knew. Said you were going to be a better soldier than he ever was. Holland turned back to face her. I didn't believe him then. I thought he was just being a proud big brother. And now, Maya's voice was barely a whisper. Now I know he was right. The words hung in the air between them. Holland came back to the desk. He pulled out another paper from the folder. An official form. This is a certification, he said. It states that Private First Class Maya Torres has completed advanced combat engineering training and is qualified for deployment to active combat zones. He picked up a pen. I'm going to sign this, and I'm going to recommend you for promotion to specialist, and I'm going to personally submit your file for the positions that need the kind of soldier you are. Maya couldn't speak. But before I do, Holland said, I need to know something. Why are you really here, Maya? Is it revenge? Survivor's guilt? Or is it something else? Maya thought about the question. Really thought about it. When Carlos died, she said slowly, I was angry. At the enemy. At command. At God. At myself for not stopping him. For months all I wanted was to get back out there and make someone pay. She paused. But during recovery, during all those hours in the hospital, I had time to think. And I realized something. What? Carlos didn't die for revenge. He died doing what he believed in. Protecting his team, serving his country, making dangerous places safer for the soldiers who came after him. She looked up at Holland. That's what I want too. I want to finish the mission. Not because I'm angry, not because I have something to prove, but because it's what we do. It's who we are. Holland was quiet for a moment. Then he signed the certification form. Your brother would be proud of you, he said. Thank you, Sergeant. Don't thank me yet. You've still got 2 weeks of training left. And now that I know what you're capable of, I'm going to push you harder than ever. He almost smiled. But this time it won't be to break you. It'll be to prepare you, to make you the best combat engineer in this unit. Yes, Sergeant. Dismissed. Maya stood and saluted. Holland returned it. As she reached the door, he called out, Torres? She turned. Those scars, he said. Stop hiding them. They're not something to be ashamed of. They're proof that when it mattered most, you didn't run away from the fire. You ran toward it, Maya nodded. She couldn't speak past the lump in her throat. She left the office and walked back to the barracks. The rain had stopped. The evening sun broke through the clouds, painting everything gold. When she entered the barracks, the conversation stopped. Everyone turned to look at her. Jessica stood up first. Then Marcus. Then one by one, the other soldiers. Thompson stepped forward. His face was serious. I owe you an apology, he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. Today, during the demolition exercise, you saved both our lives, and I was too stupid and proud to admit it. He paused. You're a better soldier than me. Hell, you're a better soldier than most of us, and I'm sorry for how I treated you. Maya looked around the room, saw respect in their eyes now. Respect she'd earned. We're a team, she said simply. We look out for each other. That's all. Jessica smiled. Those scars, you got them saving soldiers. Maya hesitated. Then she rolled up both sleeves. All the way. Let them see everything. The room was silent. 3 years ago, Maya said. Helmand Province. Vehicle hit an IED and caught fire. 3 men trapped inside. I pulled them out. Holy hell, someone whispered. Marcus stepped closer, looked at the scarring with the eye of someone who understood trauma. 3rd-degree burns. Had to be. Yes. And you fought your way back to active duty. Yes. Why? Jessica asked gently. After something like that, you could have taken a medical discharge, disability. No one would have blamed you. Maya thought of Carlos. Of his smile. Of the way he'd always believed in her. Because being a soldier isn't what I do, she said. It's who I am. The scars don't change that. If anything, they remind me why it matters. The room erupted in voices. Soldiers coming up to her. Shaking her hand. Clapping her shoulder. Welcoming her, really welcoming her for the first time. That night, Maya sat on her bunk and pulled out the photo of Carlos. She looked at his face for a long time. I made it, she whispered to the photo. Holland signed the certification. I'm going back to combat. I'm going to finish what you started. She imagined she could hear his voice, proud, strong. That's my sister. I always knew you would. She carefully put the photo away and lay back on her bunk. Tomorrow, training would continue. Holland would push her hard but fairly now. The other soldiers would train beside her as equals. As teammates, she'd wear short sleeves from now on. Let the scars show. Let them be what they were, proof of sacrifice. Proof of courage. Proof that she'd been tested by fire and survived. Sergeant Holland had called her soft, but he'd been wrong. She wasn't soft. She was strong, stronger than he'd known, stronger than she'd sometimes believed herself. The scars beneath her sleeves had told a story he couldn't see. But now everyone could see them, and now everyone knew the truth. Private First Class. Maya Torres wasn't someone to be mocked or underestimated. She was a soldier who'd walked through fire for her brothers and sisters in arms. She was a soldier who'd earned every scar. She was a soldier who'd proven that strength isn't about being unbreakable, it's about being broken and choosing to stand back up. And tomorrow, she'd wake up and do it all over again. Not because it was easy, but because it was right. Because she was a soldier. And soldiers don't quit. Not ever. Outside, the stars came out over Fort Bragg. Somewhere in the distance, a bugle played taps. The mournful notes drifted across the base. Maya closed her eyes and whispered one final thing to her brother's memory. I'm not soft, Carlos. I never was. And I never will be. And in her heart, where the pain and the pride lived side by side, she finally felt at peace. The scars would always be there, but so would she. Ready, strong, unbreakable, a soldier.